Hey guys, it's Mooty here, and I am bringing you another competitive discussion because Greninja's suspect test results have just been announced, and it's been banned by a huge majority. I'd like to say it was, what, 82%, 83%?
Yep, 82%. There was 249 people that participated in the vote. 205 voted to ban. 44 was not banned. And they're still missing some votes, but it wouldn't have mattered either way.
So yeah, that's what went down. Really, the reasoning was everything we listed in the last video, which will probably be linked somewhere if you really want to watch it. It goes kind of in depth as to why Greninja was a huge problem in the metagame. So I'm glad it got banned. So Chase and I have had some experience on the suspect test ladder. We weren't part of the vote because I just didn't have enough time to do it, and it was really last minute. But yeah, I did get in enough battles. I want to say maybe 50 to 60 to where I got, I guess, some sort of gist of what the game was like without Greninja, and that's kind of what this video is going to be discussing, what the future of the OU metagame is going to be like. And there are statistics for the suspect test that you can check out as well as the moveset, which is really what we go by whenever we do any of the competitive discussions. And we just want to say that, first off, Landorus Therian is still the most used Pokemon by a lot.
Like,
if you look at Landorus, it has 33% usage. Heatran is under it, and it's 23%. That's a huge jump.
Yeah, like, that's really big. Like, the fact that people are going to say Landorus is going to over-centralize the meta, but the thing is, there's a difference between that and there's a difference between how much it's used and how much it's centralized. Like, the reason why it's so used is if you take a look at what the suspect, ladder was, or the suspect metagame was, it became a lot more shifted to the physical side, and Landorus helped deal with that. Like, Landorus is used because it checks the meta, not because it's too good in the meta. It's just a good check for the meta, so.
Like, if you look at all the megas that are top right now, they're all physical Pokemon, and I think that's why it's there more than anything, because the megas people use are all physically oriented. More like Metagross, we got Metagross, we got Scizor, we got Charizard X, we got Gallade, Lopunny, all of those Pokemon, they're all physical megas. So that's one reason why Landorus is really dominant right now, as well as its utility on top of that.
Yeah, because you can either run it as a choice scarfer or as a good defender. It fills a lot of holes in teams just to check a lot of the meta, and if you run it as a choice scarfer, it's an amazing revenge killer. It can easily deal with a lot of those megas, and then if you're not running a Scarfer, you have some other way to kill those megas, and then you also have that support to deal with whatever else, get your rocks. It's just an amazing.
And it was still this either the first or the second on the ladder before, not the ladder, but the usage before Greninja was banned. But now that Greninja is gone, it just has even more usage because it doesn't have to worry about the ice beams or the hydro pumps or coming in on Greninjas that are there, even though it was scarfed.
Yeah, it has a lot easier time switching into a lot of things because it has great hyping, and it, in general, like I said before, it's a good check for the meta, so it has a lot of ways to come in on basically everything. So
because Greninja was banned, there were a couple Pokemon like that could see more usage now because Greninja's speed tier made it so high up. Now a couple other Pokemon are able to merge more. Like, there were Pokemon such as Latios and Latias that saw some usage, but now they're going to be even more dominating factors in the metagame because they don't have to worry about that Greninja outspeeding them and getting off an Ice Beam or a Dark Pulse on the Pokemon. Another really good Pokemon is Keldeo that we're going to be seeing a lot of now. Yeah, like, Keldeo is really strong right now.
Yeah, I'm really excited about seeing that Keldeo being used a lot more. Like, it's been a Pokemon I've been loving for a long time, and the fact that we have the speed tier lowered down now to like the base 110 speed, and Keldeo's right below it, but the thing is that a lot of those base 110 guys, especially with Keldeo having access to Icy Wind, it gains a lot more utility, and it also has nice
it hits things hard too. It hits things really hard as well.
Yeah, it hits things really hard, and it helps fill the holes that those base 110s need to be filled, so it provides some nice utility for everything else.
Another Pokemon that has surfaced a lot because of Greninja being gone is Metagross, and I think Metagross is one of those Pokemon, the Mega form that has the potential to get suspect tested next.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think that between that, I guess, and Landorus are the most possible options, if any, because I've played against Metagross, and it becomes a huge problem because it does carry a good variety of attacks. It has its both the Psychic Steel, which is still a good typing. It's also got Ice Punches for things like Landorus and Dragons. It's got Earthquake for all the steals. It's got Thunder Punch, I guess, for Skarmories that have risen in usage, but it's not as common to see Thunder Punch on it. I've seen some run Hammer Arm, because what I used to do in my suspect ladder is I had a really big problem dealing with Metagross, so it wasn't the best thing for me to put on my team, but I decided to put Ferrothorn on my team with Rocky Helmet and Iron Barbs, because as long as it doesn't Earthquake, it's still taking like 25% health just from attacking me, and Ferrothorn, being as defensive and bulky as it was, could take that. And really, Ferrothorn wasn't, it was like a decent check. It wasn't the best thing there was, but the only things that I found that dealt with Metagross well were either really defensive things that carried stuff like Rocky Helmet to slowly wear it down, or Pokemon that were choice scarfs, such as Landorus, that once it Mega Evolved, Landorus could come in and get an Intimidate off on it. Granted, it still had to fear the Ice Punch coming its way, but yeah, Metagross is just one of those Pokemon that has risen a lot in usage, and it's the most used Mega once Greninja was gone, because Greninja wasn't there to threaten it with Dark Pulses.
Right, and because the speed tier got lowered to base 110, and Metagross with its Mega got graced with that base 110 speed, it's able to compete with the new speed tier a lot better and deal with, like, if you look at the top like 10 or 15 things, it deals with most of them. Like, the only things that really are able to take it on easily enough are going to be like
Rotom Wash is even iffy now, because Zen Headbutt does a lot unless you're fully defensive.
Yeah, and then Ferrothorn's the only other thing, like you mentioned, and then I guess like maybe
Bisharp to some extent, but even a Life Orb Sucker Punch has a chance to not KO.
Right, so I mean, it's just Metagross. It has so much versatility in a sense that it has a huge move pool to abuse, and it also does a ton of damage because of the tough claws as well. And if Landorus leads off against a Metagross, it doesn't get the Intimidate drops because it hasn't Mega yet. So it has way too many utilities to where it could definitely see some sort of over-centralization. And then also back to the Landorus point, as far as that getting suspected, like I said before, I don't see it getting suspected tested anytime soon, because it's not the thing that's over-centralizing, it's the meta that's making it such a huge utility that it's forced to be used. So for it to be too good, for it to go down in usage, something else has to change, so its utility goes down. I don't think banning it will promote the metagame to be healthier.
No, but I think if anything, banning it is going to make things like Metagross just absolutely wreck the game, if anything.
Right, yeah.
And that's not good either. So, I'm not sure, but really, in order to fix that, you'd kind of have to see a more especially offensive metagame. But the problem with that is that Greninja was the #1 used special attacker, and the other offensive slots for special attackers you could see being filled would be something like Latios and Latias.
Or Keldeo.
Or Keldeo, yeah. And those aren't really a lot, because, like, when you look at Megaforms, at least, there aren't a lot of special Megaforms either. And Megaforms are usually, like, your powerhouses on your team. They're there to just be offensive and try and win you the games. And because most of the Megas are physical, you really don't see many special attackers beyond the ones that are on the top. And the other special attackers you do see are usually defensive things like Slowbro or Clefable, and other than that, you really don't see many offensive ones.
Like, there's also Thundurus and Gengar, but the thing is,
they're frail.
Yeah, the metagame, a lot of the physical attackers we're getting right now are kind of on the bulky side, and they help deal with those relatively easily. Plus, Latios and Keldeo are better options for what is in the meta, so they're good, but they don't deal with the meta in the same way, especially with Scarf and Landorus being around. That also puts a hamper on everything else as well, so...
Well, I think another thing with Greninja was that it made it so that teams were either super hyper offensive or they'd be really defensive to try and deal with Greninja because it was so offensive. So
yeah,
with Greninja being gone, it did like kind of give a bit more for you to have a diversity when making your team in terms of the type of teams you make. Yeah. I've even seen some, not a lot, but some stall. Like I've seen a bit more people trying new stuff like spikes and phasers and stuff like that. So it does give team building a bit more diversity in terms of the fact that now I think a couple more teams are was it mixed offense?
Mixed offense or like bulky offense. Like now there's a lot more bulky Pokemon that have a chance to try more because it's not as shoved down your throat you're gonna get destroyed if you waste any time. So
I think that's about all that we wanted to cover in this video regarding the Greninja ban. And after this, the topic will not be brought up anymore because it was a pretty controversial topic between the community as a whole. And like I said, these are our own personal opinions on what we really think of the metagame. If you have any other discussions or any sort of thoughts on what the new metagame is going to be like without Greninja, whether you agree, you disagree, you like or dislike, you can always post it in the comments. And as long as you know you have nice substance to back up your arguments or your disagreements, then you know it can be a really healthy discussion if you'd like it to be. Do you have any closing statements?
I mean, as far as it goes, I mean, we kind of were like looking down on how we're talking about everything, but the thing is that it's still overall healthier right now as opposed to when Greninja was around, how the meta is turning. Like, we're getting a different sort of meta and there's a lot more diversity coming up, but there are still things that need to be done to make it, you know, a good, healthy, diverse tier. It's going to take more time. No one said it was going to be overnight. I've never said that once, but people think it's supposed to happen, but it's like there's more.
Oh yeah, and a lot of people think, hey, you're going to ban this one thing, then you're going to ban this other thing, then the whole OU tier is going to be banned. It doesn't work that way. It's not that extreme.
Something gets hit, now we get more things that can come in, because any Pokemon can go to OU. Like, any of the things that are below Ubers can go OU, so you can use anything.
It's literally usage-based.
Yeah, so it's just
anything has a chance to rise up, and anything has a chance to become the new threat once something else is gone to fill in that void there. We've seen it
plenty of times in 4th gen and 5th gen, so it's going to happen again. It's just the thing is, we were throwing a lot of stuff when we got 6th gen, and a lot of that has to be sifted out in order to have, you know, a good standardized metagame as opposed to, you know, anything else. So with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, this discussion video. We'll definitely have more in the future whenever things like this come up. But as always, I love you guys very, very much. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And bye.